Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan here to recap what a very odd and strange, and I don't want to say unpredictable. Yeah, I'll say it was an unpredictable game. Unpredictable Eagles win over the Panthers on Sunday. I'm still trying to process how it all came about. They win 21-18. There's a lot of big picture stuff that's important. There's a lot of little picture stuff we're going to get to, micro stuff that's important. All in all, Eagles get a win. They snap their 3-game losing streak. I think that's very important for them. They come back home, got a short turnaround, Adam, for Thursday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it's much better that they come home off a win than heading into that Buccaneers game at home on Thursday if they had lost this game.
Yeah, I mean, I really look forward, not that I think anything's going to surprise us greatly with the performance of the offense was mostly pitiful. Today's Monday morning, so we got 3 days, as you said, to digest this and move on to Tampa Bay and kind of figure out what they're going to be facing. The Eagles defense, which played well on Sunday, relatively well. They're the reason really they kept in the game. But man, it's amazing. Week one, where all three phases were terrific in the win at Atlanta. Since then, they haven't even had two phases do well in the same game. And now they had in this game special teams. Save for Siposs's first punt. After that, it was good. Yeah, Elliott continues to have a great season. We had told you in the spring that the operation was the issue with him last year. It was not him. The way he evaluated it, it was the snap, the placement, and all that. So he's been great. Elliott. He had missed one kick this year, which is his field goal was too low. But other than that, he's been great. His special teams returns could be better. Rager did have one good one, which is good to see. But that's the return game needs to be better. But in terms of kicking the football, it's pretty good. And the defense did show up. There's no question. They needed it. This is a game where there's no doubt. Without the defense showing up, they were going to lose that game.
Totally. Defense, special teams. It was that. You're right. That was what carried. And they don't win that game without blocking the punt. That's obviously the biggest thing. TJ Edwards comes through, blocks the punt. I think Davion Taylor was the one who pounced on it. That turned the table. But you're right. I mean, the defense really never let the Panthers in the second half, after they took that bigger first half lead, never let them expand on it, never let extend it, never let, the Eagles were never out of it because the Panthers couldn't apply the chokehold because the Eagles defense applied it to them. And then obviously we saw what happened there in the fourth quarter. So here's my big picture takeaway. I'll get yours. Big picture is this. The Eagles got a win that they need because, to me, it's going to look pretty bleak for them to go point for point with Tampa Bay on Thursday night, even with a good defense. I think it's just going to be very difficult. So if you lost this game to the Panthers and you're at 1-4, then Tampa 1-5, I mean, you worry about, we talked about it on the pregame show, when you have a downward spiral, losing the confidence of your veterans, losing the buy-in from the team. For a couple of days, they're good on good ground here. They got to win, and we'll see what happens going forward. But it does feel like this team is going to struggle against decent to good teams and then going to be able to kind of hang around and beat, the bad to mediocre teams, Atlanta, Carolina. I haven't really looked at the schedule. I know who's on it, but to process how many quote unquote of these coin flip or winnable games are left. But, if you're the type of fan or person who thought this team can make the playoffs, you needed to win. There's no doubt about it. You had to win this game, and maybe we'll see what the Eagles do. If you're looking big picture, though, and you're just evaluating the team, how do they look as a growing team, you would have serious concerns about their growth on offense right now after 5 games. I think that's fair.
Well, what it is, but it's not just one side of the football, it's both. You can't predict from game to game which side will show up. It's just the way it is. You've got two new staffs, 2 new play callers. I totally get it. It's not acceptable, but I'm just trying to be a realist here. The head coach had an awful game calling plays. I don't know how else to say it. It was terrible. The quarterback was bad in the first half. There's no excusing it. Hurts had an awful first half. But as a couple of people who were a lot smarter than you and I said to me Sunday night, what did the head coach do to help his quarterback? Take the ball out of his hands, there's sometimes the quarterback doesn't deserve to throw the football. If he's not throwing ball with accuracy and then not seeing it well. First half, in my notes, the field vision was horrendous. He just didn't see the field very well. Sam Darnold, same thing. They didn't have Christian McCaffrey. I know Hubbard had a good game, but Darnold had on the ball, held on. We'll get to the Eagles defense. So he struggled. So you had two struggling quarterbacks. But I would ask, what did Nick Sirianni do to help his quarterback? I would say next to nothing.
Yeah, it's a great question. We're going to really kind of talk about the play calling today and when we hit the offense. And then, of course, when we do our tape review pod, that'll come out Wednesday, 6 a.m., maybe we'll have a clearer idea of what the defense was presenting that maybe we weren't able to see. I don't think it really matters much because what you're saying is more about flow and play calling versus whatever defense, trying to put your offense in the best position to succeed, and we'll get into that. But again, it's an important win for the Eagles in that you prevent the downward spiral for a little bit, and we'll see. We will do our normal pregame show on Thursday night. It'll be from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, so make sure you're tuning in. I want to thank everybody, first of all, who tuned into the one on Sunday because we got a ton of great comments about it. It must have been one of those shows where people found it the material really in-depth, really insightful. I thought Jason and Greg Cosell did an excellent job. You and I, we just asked the questions, get some answers. But no, we give our opinions too. I thought it was a really good show. And a lot of the things that we discussed did come to life in that game. So great job. So please, if you're loving the show, hit like, subscribe, tell your friends about it, and then watch Thursday night when we start at our time at 5 o'clock p.m. So let's get into the offense because that's fresh on my mind. I have to say mea culpa because it's my fault. I really said on the show and even on the last podcast that there's no way in my mind that the Eagles can play this game and Miles Sanders is going to get fewer than 11 or 12 carries. Now, he got 11, but still, I was thinking Miles Sanders was going to factor into this game plan. I thought the screen game, I mean, he did have 5 catches for 6 yards, so they tried it, but it was pretty predictable the way they did, and it was snuffed out every time. In fact, I think all the short stuff that they've been doing for the first 4 weeks, you can say the teams are keying on that now because there were no easy ones for the Eagles offense this time. And so, Adam, the lack of a foundational run game, a fluid run game.
Base is what they call it. Yeah, base is. You got it.
I brought up
none.
There was all right. You're going to remember this series because it stands out for Jalen Hurts getting sacked twice in a row. You remember when he got sacked by Hassan Reddick and then sacked again by Reddick and Derek Brown?
He was like the only defensive player really to show up for them. He was incredible. Like somewhere
Brown
average.
got a lot of pressure. I mean, he may not have had 3 or 4 sacks.
Brown got there, but Reddick, it wasn't just the 2 sacks that he had. He's had sacks, by the way, in every game.
Right.
As one Panthers person told me, he plays with his hair on fire. They never ask him to drop in coverage, really. They just, the kid Carter, the middle linebacker, number 4. It's so weird to see a middle linebacker wearing number 4, but Reddick was just creating havoc. He really did.
Yes.
And Derek Brown.
Let me stop you there real quick because I don't want to forget this point. It's an important point I was making.
Right, sure.
So in that third quarter, before the Reddick sack, the first of 2 sacks, the Eagles got 8 yards on first down on a pass to Dallas Goedert. All right. 2nd and 2. That's a great play action down if you want to throw the ball, which the Eagles did, but it's not a great play action down if the defense doesn't think you might actually run the ball. And it's also not a great play action down if your offense has not been very stable. And that, to me, was a perfect opportunity. You pick up 8 yards. Good. You got him. You pass to Dallas Goedert. Now it's 2nd and 2. Run the damn ball there. Give yourself a first down. Then you have the optionality of running play action on first down on the next play or running it again and actually running the ball twice in a row. But it's pockets, small pockets like this. You know, I'm like you. I'm not a run the ball 75%. I'm not, but you have to actually give the defense something to think about. And they don't do that at all.
No, I agree. Look, I know you're passionate about it. I agree with you. It's just, I don't want to say the Eagles are predictable, but they are with their RPOs. They're so RPO centric. And the problem is that they don't, like, even when they do inside and outside zone, it's not a natural inside or outside zone. It doesn't look right.
Right.
It only look right when they ran the zone read late in the game. it's just an awkward looking running game. There's no commitment to it. There's no flow, as you said earlier. That's a great word. It's just I had to bring this up again, but something I stole from someone who grades tape for us, said that the Eagles offense is totally disjointed. It's so disjointed. I cannot even tell you. We don't have an hour and a half to discuss this, but it's like Sirianni has absolutely no feel for offensive football in the NFL. He has none. You could blame it all you want on Hurts. I understand that. His first half was terrible. And I give him credit, though. I want to give him credit for hanging in there in the second half. I know it wasn't great in the second half, but he was better. Made some plays when he had to. But mentally, he just hung in there after a bad first half. But I'll say it again. What are you doing to help your quarterback? Take it out of his hands. Figure out to have a base running game, or as you said, just sort of a natural running game. You don't have to do everything RPO. And as you just said earlier, and it's very true, they're so predictable with the run game. And I don't want to say the defense has their ears pinned back, but their RPOs are not beating them. They were not beating them this game. And the problem is Sirianni doesn't have a second act. It's like if you beat what he's trying to do, he doesn't know what to do. That's kind of the way I see it.
Right. So once again, it looked like this. It's like I hate this whole every other week. Some things look different, but all the kind of the motion and the shifting and all the creativity you saw last week in the first quarter and a half, that wasn't there. And honestly, when they don't do that, when they just do run, the few times they do, man, I hate to say this. People are going to jump down my throats. It kind of looks like the Doug Peterson run game. You come out in 11 personnel or 12 personnel. Maybe you take a tackle and run them up the middle, or maybe you pull a guard. Like there's nothing that gives the defense anything to key on other than the actual pulling guard or the pulling tackle or whatever you're doing with the run. I mean, you might line up in the shotgun, Miles on your right. The play is going to be outside zone to the left or vice versa. And I say that without having seen the tape, so maybe on Wednesday I'll again be saying, well, I did see some things, but you can see last week you saw it in the first quarter. This week it was more vanilla for that. So I'm with your sources. You said that there's just nothing that was really. I know Carolina has a good defense, but honestly, they weren't that good. That they just kind of don't have an answer for anything. And so I wonder about this. You said Jalen didn't play very well. You're correct in the first half. I mean, there were throws left on the field. There's two back-to-back plays that really stand out before halftime, right? One is where he gets the guy to jump off sides, and then he throws the ball out of bounds. I mean, take a risk, keep the ball in play. And then obviously on the next play, he throws the out when Quez Watkins is wide open down the field.
Touchdown. Yeah.
Right. So he has that tendency to either run out of the pocket quickly or just deliver quickly without seeing the whole route. But Adam, I'm starting to wonder this. Does Nick Sirianni call a different – does he not call what he would normally call for when he had, Luck or Rivers or anything? Does he have to run so many RPOs because he feels he has to scheme up everything for Jalen Hurts? Because if this is an evaluation year and you want to find out what Jalen Hurts is, why don't you just let him – conventional drop back, do some stuff, let him be him and see if he can handle it.
You may ask a terrific question. In fact, Cosell talked about it in our pregame show because Greg said the one issue where Hurts is really struggling, and it was in particular the last game where he played well, though. Greg felt he played well and made some really good throws in the loss at home in week 4 to the Chiefs, but he said he drops his eyes too much. And what that tells you, folks, is you're not seeing the field. You're not getting that clear picture. When you drop your eyes, Kevin Cobb had the same issue. You're looking down and you're not maintaining your downfield focus. When you do that, you're leaving so many plays on the field. It's bad. Yes, it's correctable, but it then becomes, it's on the quarterback. Once you show him the tape, you go, hey, listen, what were you thinking? Or why are your eyes not downfield? That's what you tell him. You show him, and then he explains it, and then you go on, but you want to make sure that he stops doing it. So we haven't seen the tape yet. It's only Monday morning, but I do wonder if that's going to get – I mean, it's going to get corrected like they're showing him it, but can he mentally correct it to change it? It's just a real issue for him. It's been, as I understand it, it's been happening every game. This past game was the week 4 game, the loss to Kansas City, again, where he played a good game. That's the one issue. If that could get corrected, we won't say every week. It's not just us saying it. Anyone who grades Eagles tape will tell you Hurts leaves way too many plays on the field. I'm sure there were plenty this game because that's been part of his problem. But maintaining his downfield focus must be better.
Well, I part of me wonders. Well, I agree with that too. But you look at the way the offense was designed for him, and I don't think they put the ball down the field until maybe the Quez Watkins 53-yarder, which he was kind of I think Hurts was able to elude some pressure and then make a really nice throw on a double move there. He was wide open. You take that and the 20-yarder that Goddard caught there in the fourth quarter. Other than that, I felt like every single throw was like screen, short stuff. There just wasn't a whole lot of. There wasn't. If you're not going to go deep, right? If you're afraid of the deep thing, or how about the middle? How about some high-low stuff? I mean, maybe it's there, and again, the tape review will show that it was there and it wasn't seen, but it just felt too forced as far as trying to attack horizontally and to the sidelines as opposed to the middle of the field and deeper.
All right, so that is my issue now, because where the tight ends were really involved in the Kansas City game, and I understand the Eagles got ball control. They were giving up just over 10 minutes. They only had the ball just under 25 minutes, which is not good. Goddard, once again, underutilized. Only 3 pass targets.
They're killing him in this offense, man. They're killing him.
It's looks like I'm going to be wrong about Goddard with this staff. I thought they would get it. They might as well just – I know they didn't get a contract extension with him done before the season started. I mean, we know they were working on it in the spring, but ultimately it didn't get done. I just don't see the point. It's like Sanders. They don't know what – this staff has no idea what to do with him. I get it. It's 5 games. Maybe they will figure it out. Maybe in 4 or 5 games from now we'll go, oh, wow, it took them too long, but they figured it out with Sanders and Goddard. Oh, by the way, Kenny Gainwell, you're trailing in the game, right? He has 3 touches. I don't know. This was Sirianni. This might be of the 5 his worst game. It was terrible.
To me, it was perplexing, right? It was perplexing to have done what you did against Kansas City, found something there, and then came out against Carolina and you didn't have it. Like, I don't expect you to be great every single game. I don't expect, obviously the defense is going to do some things, and this was a better defense, but I don't know. I like the person told you, it just seemed like he didn't have a good understanding of the flow of the game and how to call it to help his quarterback out. There are some guys who are just really good at that. Bruce Arians always seems to be able to get his quarterback in rhythm. I get it, he's got Tom Brady, but even when he had other quarterbacks, he was able to get him in a rhythm. He worked really well with Ben Roethlisberger back in the day, and then of course in Indianapolis. Obviously guys like Sean Payton. I'm taking the elite of the elite here, but there's a reason why they're elite. They've just got a good innate feel, and none of them are afraid to run. They'll run. What did Kamara have? 120 total yards? Kamara's been one of the better running backs. Sean Payton will run, and he loves to pass more than anybody.
Sure.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Look, Sirianni's called 5 games now. Very mixed reviews. I'm sort of the negative side from him as a play caller, but we definitely see some upside. The week 1, just because he knew he wanted to get Hurts off to a good start, giving him relatively easy throws in that Atlanta game, and Hurts executed excellently. And then, you saw the steady regression. The Dallas game was an abomination for the head coach and the quarterback. Yeah, they rebounded really well against Kansas City. Solid game for Hurts, solid game, as you said. Yep. So you see what Sirianni's capable of doing. I just don't understand the variance. And Isn't it interesting how Sirianni's play calling? It's one thing if we haven't seen a game like this yet. Let's say there were so many plays wide open. Sirianni schemed these guys open. They were getting open left to right, and Hurts missed all of them. Okay, that'll happen. It hasn't happened yet. But did you get a feeling for that he really did help? We know Hurts didn't play well overall, but did you think that he really helped in this game?
Do I think Sirianni helped Hurts?
Yes.
No, I don't. I think that he called an ultra-conservative type of game, way too, look, I thought screens were going to be important against a defense this aggressive, but I didn't feel like the Panthers were that aggressive with 6- and 7-man rushes early in the game. I think that they were getting a good job. You mentioned this. Reddick and Burns were doing a good job of just giving them 4, maybe sometimes 5-man pressures. So once the first 2 or 3 screens weren't working, there was what did they wind up throwing? Like 6 of them? I know Sanders had 5 catches for 6 yards, right? And Gainwell had 1 catch for 8 yards. So your running backs caught the ball 6 times and got 14 yards out of it. I think after the first 2 or 3 times, you might have realized that these plays aren't working. That you've got this nice tight end, Dallas Goedert, who you could probably throw the ball to. And say what you want about Rager, and again, it seems like he's just there and then not there, then there, then not there. 3 catches, 24 yards. I don't know, the whole wide receiver tree here, and then the target distribution is another thing we talked about on the pregame show. Do they have a go-to guy?
Well, Smith would be right.
Smith 7 for 77, yeah.
Right. In terms of pass targets, yes, but I'll say it again. They don't have a physical pass target at wide receiver. So why don't you get Dallas Goedert as a boundary X like they've done in the past with Ertz and others, going back to Doug Peterson's Super Bowl run in 17?
Mm-hmm.
They need to start doing that because they need someone physical who could go over the middle or line up Goddard in the slot where he should absolutely dominate. There are things you can do here, and we'll be looking into that when we talk to people who are going to grade the tape for us. But it's this was – look, the way we're talking is like they lost. I mean, I apologize for being so negative.
Yeah,
but
we're probably a little harsh right now.
But I think Cosell had some great points about – because he was talking about how people go after him on Twitter about how negative he could be. He's just grading the tape. He's just saying this – and he makes a great point about coaches are always trying to have perfect football, right?
Right.
When it's not, why not? And that's all we're doing is, and Greg would do it, and Jason Avant would do it. Here's what I see. Jason had some very strong opinions, and so did Greg in the pregame show, which I think is probably our best one that we've done this season. And unfortunately, because they're right, we're seeing some of these things show up in the game, which it's good that they see this before it happens, but it's disappointing because if they're seeing it, why aren't the coaches correcting it, or why is it still an issue? But we know the coaches try to correct it. But you have to ask yourself, why is it continuing to happen?
No, and there's something that happened that you really, really have to wonder about that I'll talk about in a second. First, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code ITB. Bet just $1 on any NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. That's promo code ITB this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. And when you do use your sports book, DraftKings, and you want to have the best bet available, you got to make sure you're using BetQL. It's the only app you'll need to make smart bets. Their best bet computer model scans over 350,000 unique bets a year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and gives you the reason why you should place the bet. Their model covers everything from spreads to over-unders and player prop bets. If you don't want to use the model, you like to do research on your own, BetQL's got the necessary tools for your betting research needs, from sharp data to line movement, team summaries, lineup and injury breaking news, even the leaderboards to track your success. So go to the App Store or Google Play Store now, download BetQL, and if you go to try.betql.co/ITB, you just enter the discount code ITB at payment checkout, and you'll get 25% off their subscription offerings. And they've got this awesome sportsbook offers page. So if you live in one of the eligible states, you can claim free offers upon signing up on any of the sportsbook that are listed. So don't miss out on the chance to beat your sportsbook this fall season using BetQL. By the way, BetQL, remember we mentioned that they were really bullish on the Panthers winning the first half. Their model said about 71% or 78%. Yeah. Well, they were pretty keyed on that because the Panthers went into the halftime with what looked like a lead that was going to stick for quite a while there.
Yeah, it's funny. I want to talk about it in the open where the game was so lopsided in the first half, but when Elliott got that field goal to make it, I think it was like 15-6. Yeah, it was 15-6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, it's a miracle they're only down 9. Maybe things will go better. And the defense took over. Maybe they felt the urgency, which I know coaches have told me over the years. Sometimes one side of football will take it. They'll see the other side struggling and go, hey, let's win this game for our guys. Right. Maybe that happened. Who knows? Yep. But the defense really took over. We'll get to defense in a second. But offensively, Thursday, by the way, the Bucs have the best run defense, arguably, in the NFL. So they're not going to run. The way you beat the Bucs is you throw it. I don't know if they can. The Bucs are not real deep a corner, though they absolutely embarrassed the Dolphins. But I'm interested to see what Sirianni and his staff will adjust to for Thursday because they're on a short week now. They're going to watch the tape. Obviously, this morning, in fact, they watched it on their way home. Teams are able to do that now because they have their own crew shooting, and then they're going to have to make their corrections. And it's today They just have a walkthrough. Tuesday is they call it a practice, but it's a super long walkthrough. And then you have your regular walkthrough the day before the game. So there's not a lot of time here for the offense to change. I don't know what he can possibly do, but I like Hurts's fight in the second half. It, as ugly as it was, he had some nice runs. He had some nice throws. It wasn't great overall. People want to say he didn't deserve to win, but you know what? They won the game, okay?
Yeah.
As hard as we were on them, they found a way to win.
Yeah, listen, I give Hurts more credit than Sirianni. He's got to be the one out there taking the hits, executing the plays, and he led the comeback. So if we're grading guys, Hurts gets a way higher grade for me than Sirianni does.
D+ or C- for Hurts? Wouldn't he give him a C-?
I do want to factor it's on the road against a team that had a top 5 defense. So probably a C+, I would say.
Okay.
C+.
Now,
I'm going to give him a lot of credit for hanging in there.
He did. J.C. Horn out, Burris out, 2 starters in their secondary. I thought they'd be able to exploit it. Now, maybe we know that Hurts missed some throws, but I want to know what throws he missed. I'd like to see, other than the ones we saw from television, which were not enough. You just can't tell enough. But look, it's the good thing is at least they got one side playing well, and obviously special teams. My goodness gracious, the special teams. By the way, they've improved this season. For the most part, they're way better than last year under Dave Phipp, who was one of the best special teams coaches for years. Unfortunately, it wasn't good for him last year, and I'm sure he'll rebound with Detroit. But this special teams, they've got a bunch of special teams coaches this year. They got at least like 4 of them, I think, or Panunzio, Michael Clay.
Michael Clay. They got Tyler Brown.
Is there another guy? Or is it just 3 of them? Well, they got 3, which is
just those 3, right? Yeah.
Usually it's 1 or 2, and now they've got 3. So okay. And it's working out. They're doing a good job.
Yeah. So speaking of coaching, there's one thing I got a bone to pick with. And look, I when players make mistakes, I put them on the players for the most part. I really do. Even when they're repetitive, though, I say, well, then somebody's not getting through to them. For the second straight week, they get a touchdown negated, and the Eagles must lead the NFL in touchdowns wiped off the board. But for the second straight week, an illegal pick. And this one was actually worse than J-Jaws because there was absolutely no reason Greg Ward needed to even touch that guy. That's a touchdown just by him running his route. So it was really so that happens 2 weeks. We've seen 2 touchdowns by 2 different wide receivers taken away because both of them stepped out of bounds. That's discipline. It's knowing your assignment. And if you're not doing that repeatedly, to me, there's something going on there where you don't feel accountable to your coach. So whether it's Aaron Moorhead, whether it's Sirianni, who's a former wide receiver, or Petula, I don't know. But this wide receiver group makes so many damn mistakes. I don't know how these guys don't pull their hair out of their head.
Maybe they are pulling it up.
Maybe they are, yeah. I have to check Nick Sirianni his head tomorrow.
Right. It's bad. I mean, because you have to start questioning the coaching. Now, there's a positive with these the extraneous stuff. They only had 6 penalties. Now 6 isn't great, but Carolina had more, so that's down from last week's 9. So okay, it's getting better. It's not the first time in Eagles history that they've had problems with penalties since the new staff, but it's getting better. But these illegal pick plays, it's like Sirianni. I remember him talking. May have been 3 or 4 weeks ago. 3 or 4 weeks ago, he goes, "Oh, it's not a secret. We do a lot of picks." Okay, great, but why are they illegal? The J-Jaw one was obviously bad, clearly extended. Mm-hmm. All Ward has to do is not there's a way you can do it, have what's called rub route without making an illegal pick. Mm-hmm. This is just bad. I mean, the good play call design, but what did you have to do it? Oh, it's not good. Not good.
Yeah. By the way, we talked about the offense and the over-reliance on RPOs. I'm not 100% sure that they ran as many as they had last week. I want to go
first
check
half
that
they
out.
sure did.
First half, it looked like, again, when they start off with their kind of scripted offense, but they did have another illegal man downfield penalty. I'm like to see the second half again, just to count.
Yeah.
But
they did zone read fourth quarter, just so you know. They did
zone read. Oh yeah, that's different. That is and by the way,
it worked.
But it worked on a play after they ran the ball. See, when you run the ball with your running back and you give the defense an actual reason to think you might do it twice in a row, but then you keep it with your quarterback, he's got a lot of open space to attack the edges because they think you're actually running with your running back because you may have done it more than once. So it's a novel concept, I guess. But yeah, the tight ends we mentioned. Oh, the offensive line, pretty decent game. I know Mailata had some issues there at right tackle, but I mean, for the most part, I mean, he's playing there hurt, and that's not his natural position. So I thought he did a decent job. I know Dickerson gave up a few pressures too, but again, this is an offensive line with a bunch of backups in it again, and it's nothing like last year. Like last year, they went into games and they had just no chance to compete, and Carson Wentz was going to get beat up, and then he was going to turn the ball over. This year, this offensive line is deeper, stronger, and better. There's no question about it, even when they're with backups.
Yeah, and Dickerson will only continue to get better. I'm not even remotely worried about him. He'll be fine. It's he had no training camp or no off season. His training camp is in season. It's not what you want, but he'll get more comfortable to the speed of the game. Right. Their pass protection has really not been a problem at all. I didn't know what to expect, quite frankly, because this defense is super aggressive with Phil Snow, second highest blitz rate in the National Football League. We knew Todd Bowles was going to be number one, but he brings it, and they handle themselves well for being. We have one starter, two starters in the lineup, one at his natural position, Kelsey. Mailata had to play right tackle. So I understand it. They made a decision Friday because in Friday's practice, Mailata was at right tackle. But, he's wearing that. It's his right MCL. I don't know how comfortable he was. It's something you have to get used to, wearing this brace. And we'll see how he does on a short week, by the way. That's another thing, how these guys recover. Yep. But, Dillard's been a good story. As we talked about in our pregame, the Panthers were one of the teams to call the Eagles about Dillard before the season started. And as we noted, the Eagles had no interest in any of the teams that called about Dillard. They made it clear they had no interest in moving him. And when I had first heard, I don't know, a month, 6 weeks ago, that teams were calling about him, I'm like, why wouldn't you look at moving him? And now I know why. I mean, I should have thought it out a little bit more. Yes, they have had an injury history. I'll tell you what, we know run blocking is not his forte. His feet are so good. Cosell was talking about this as a pass protector. Eventually, they're going to have to move him because Mailata is going to be their left tackle. Right. Maybe in March they move him before free agency. By the time free agency starts, but he's showing us something. I was not sure about him. I'll be honest with you. Maybe I know he put some bulk on what you needed, but he's showing me something. He's not perfect. I think he looks like he's got a chance to be a decent left tackle. Certainly better than average, but because Eagles don't run the football, we don't know how good of a run blocker he could be in this thing. I can't. That's the problem when you say pass blocker. Someone gets to refute what I'm saying and say, hey, but what about run blocking? And I can't argue with it. I don't run block.
I gotta have to do it. I gotta laugh. Do you know how much we and everybody in the town criticized Andy Reid and Doug Peterson for not running the ball? And this dude Sirianni is like, hold my beer. I mean, he makes those guys look like they love the run. I mean, man, I don't ever remember Andy running the ball this little. Maybe in a game every once in a while, or in a game Doug would have, like Doug versus Kansas City in 2017. But man, when's the last time they went through like a 3-game stretch where they had about a combined total of 25 runs? I mean, I'm perplexed. It's crazy. It's like no matter who coaches the Eagles, they're going to be killed for not running.
I keep being asked, is Jeffrey Lurie getting in his ear? No, I don't believe that, but I do believe this. Like I have no factual evidence, but I just know the way it is. When you work for this organization, you're the play caller. In this case, play caller head coach, as Doug Peterson was, Nick Sirianni is, and Andy Reid was. You probably feel, because this is what the owner wants. And Andy, by the way, bought into it. Let's not say he didn't. Oh my, he was totally on board with that.
Oh sure.
Doug Doug knew that to get the job, this is what he was going to have to do, to buy into the analytics, and he did. And obviously it worked in 17 for the most part. He did a very good job with it. Right. I just don't understand the extreme, as you were just outlining. I don't understand why it's even worse, where there's no feel for it. It's like you're just passing. And I've said this forever. I'm okay if you don't want to run, but your quarterback is on fire. I'm good with 40 times a game. Pete Carroll, and I know Pete Carroll hates it. Right. That's why. What do you think Russell Wilson struggles with Pete Carroll? But when your quarterback is so inaccurate or struggling to get accuracy, why don't you help him? That's my issue with it.
From your lips to God's ears, I guess this is what they would say. All right, let's get off the defense because people are going to think we're just way, way negative. Oh, but by the way, I wanted to make a point about that. If people are being honest with themselves, up until the punt was blocked, midway through the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter. This game was atrocious on both sides,
hard
by
to
the way.
watch.
There's nobody who thought the game was going really swimmingly well, and this is awesome, and we're going to talk nothing but good things about the Eagles after this. No, they won because they blocked that punt and had the ball about 25, 30 yards to cover there.
It's funny. It's the first time I can remember. This is our fourth year doing the show, or 18. Yeah, fourth year. I can't remember a time we talked about a win where we were so negative. It's like I don't think we need to apologize, because what I did was I wanted a good laugh. So I went to our message board on Facebook. Oh my goodness, they agree with us.
Okay, I would
Killing
think so. Yeah, I mean, most people were killing them. Look, this game set modern. Both these teams set modern offense back at least 3 decades. Okay, at least 3 decades, and then obviously you get the punt block, and it's great that they made something of it, but you can't rely on a punt. That can't be your strategy. I guess that's why we apply the longer. You can't say, all right, we're going to get a punt block next game when we really need it, and then get that short field, and then bam, score a touchdown. So that's why it feels like more of an anomaly that you can't be all that enthused about. Nonetheless, we will flip the script. We'll talk about something good. We'll talk about the defense. The defensive line for the Eagles was good, and not just good because they're talented, and you saw Fletcher Cox get a sack and Hargrave get a sack. And Adam, this is one of those things where I throw my hands up and I don't understand. What we thought we were going to see from a line movement standpoint from day one, stunting, twisting, using that defensive line to get across those guards and tackles and get to either the running back or the quarterback, you finally saw it. They were very active up front. And I just kept thinking, this is how you were supposed to be every game, 5 games. This is what you need to be. Why did you have to wait until now to do it? But it worked. I mean, they took advantage of a bad Carolina Panthers offensive line with all that movement.
They have one of the worst offensive lines in football, Carolina. How about our man Greg Cosell saying, what did he say about Taylor Moton, who played left tackle?
You accurately said that he's their best offensive lineman, and Greg was like, he's not good, which you knew. It's just that he's still their best offensive lineman.
He was their franchise tackle, and they signed him to an extension, so the Panthers obviously think he's really good, so they don't agree with Greg. But I got to tell you, the way that they ran this, so we what we had heard in the spring was this would not be a heavy blitz team. I didn't know it'd be this not blitz. There's no way to know that. But what we heard was read and react, some stunning, as you discussed. But what would happen is, because they're going to be mostly a 4-man pressure team, they would put pressure on the quarterback, and they would get turnovers because the line would put so much pressure on it. The quarterback would hold on to the football, just like Matt Ryan did in week 1, but they didn't throw it up. This time, they got it to throw. They got Darnold to make mistakes, and boy, he looked like he did with the Jets on Sunday. When he doesn't process well, he gets that deer in the headlights look. He struggled, and it's because of the pressure and tighter zones. But here's the other fact, and Darius Slay gave it away. I had heard they played more man, but nothing like Slay said. He claims he was trailing more most, if not all, the game. I have to get that verified.
It did look like he was when they were in man defense, he trailed Slay. When they were in zone, obviously he didn't, because they're in zone. Well, you can trail in zone. You can play kind of man underneath
sides.
Yeah. Right. But no, I feel like only when they were in man defense, he trailed Slay. Yeah. I mean, he trailed
it was interesting. They played 9% more man, I was told, in week 4 versus Kansas City. You couldn't tell by the way they were giving up. But
you saw Slay trailing Kelsey a lot. So you knew when you would go in motion, you would see Slay on him.
But this game is interesting. So I just wonder if Sirianni gotten his Gannon's grill, because they were so inept and embarrassingly bad and anemic, quite frankly, on defense the previous 2 games, giving up over 80 points, and where the Carolina have been scoring a lot of points. Like their offense had improved with Darnold. I know there are a lot of Darnold detractors, but this line, Fletcher Cox got pressures. They got a lot. I think they have 8 or 9 pressures in this game.
They definitely had. They had about 8 quarterback hits.
Yeah,
more pressures, I'm sure.
Right, 3 picks. Some were clearly a result of pressure. This is what we were told. I'm sorry.
6 tackles for a loss.
That's good. No, listen, the D line brought it, particularly when they need it in the second half. Just like the Atlanta game. Remember when they took over against Atlanta in the second half? Atlanta had they were a bad offensive line, but they had no answer to stop the Eagles' defensive line. They just absolutely took over.
Right.
And I thought I know some people were mad at Greg Olsen, saying he was too much of a homer, Carolina homer. Maybe there might have been a little of it. He was terrific. He did a great job. of explaining the issues both teams had and what he'd like to see. He'd call out mistakes by the coaches and things he didn't like. I really learned a lot listening to him. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah. Did you think, by the way, that all right? Do you remember was it the fourth down pass to Zach Ertz that was off Zach Ertz? I thought that ball should have been caught. I tweeted it. People came at me like, you know who else thought it should have been caught? The Carolina Panthers tight end who was doing play-by-play. He thought the ball. He's a tight end. He didn't defend tight ends. Because the ball hit him in the hands.
Hurts threw with timing. He made him go get the football.
Yeah.
It was
against pressure.
Right. It was the middle of Zach's hand. He should have pulled it. Yeah. Let's put it this way. It was not an easy catch. If you want to say
if you're Zach Ertz,
I know
your quarterback's under pressure. Yeah. I mean, I feel like people who think that was on Jalen Hurts, it's not like it was a routine throw where he had all the time in the world. I mean, it's a fourth
down. Fired it.
You're coming after. Yeah. You put it there. You guy gets his hands on the ball. He's got to catch it.
What I loved about it, and that was the one thing we had talked about in recent weeks, that when the Chiefs game, he was better with pass placement. Well, he made the pass target go get the football instead of slowing down. Boy, when he struggles, the ball doesn't come out right out of his hand, or he doesn't put it on the correct shoulder. Even when he puts it on them and where they have to slow up, you don't want that. You want your pass target, the way it's explained to me, is always get them going forward, never let them slow up. That was an excellent timing throw. Not an easy catch for Ertz, but I'm not going to disagree with you. But, overall, they got to feel fortunate they came out with this win, and they got to bring it. But the defense really brought it when they needed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say this: Ertz gets criticized for leaving the pocket early sometimes and leaving plays on the field because the pressure comes. And
that's from Cosell, by the way. He made that very clear. That's an issue.
Oh yeah, I mean Cosell, other people we spoke to, sometimes you can see it. But I will say, I think Sam Darnold suffers from the same thing because while he was under real pressure, there were times where he was already kind of dancing around there and trying to look around to where he can go at the first sign of pressure. So I think Sam Darnold struggled with that and left plays on the field the same way. I mean, he does not look comfortable as soon as the pocket just a little bit starts to pinch in on him.
And here's why. He doesn't have his check down friend in McCaffrey. That was the major difference of the game. Chuba Hubbard ran well. He does not pass protect well. He's just not – he did have 5 for 33, but he was not a factor in the pass game. Run game, he had some really nice runs, including a 26-yarder. And, the Eagles' run defense wasn't good in this game. I get it, but it didn't cost them the game. You can live with shaky run defense as long as you don't give up a lot of chunk plays in the pass game like they did against Kansas City and other games like Dallas.
Yep.
They didn't. They did a phenomenal job against DJ Moore. I got to tell you, I thought for sure he'd burn them. He's killing it.
Right.
And Robbie Anderson continues to be non-existent. My goodness, where's he gone?
No, that's true. That's true. I thought Darnold, thanks to the Eagles defense, made about, he was 21 to 37. I thought he made maybe 4 really good throws. And then after that, he was just average to below average. Honestly, I wasn't very impressed. He had a bad game. Obviously, this is a game that speaks to what Jonathan Gannon preaches about. Okay, I don't mind being not stout in the run. I mean, they weren't bad against the run at all. 3.6 is a decent average when you're.
Well, just look at Hubbard though. I mean, you just look at Hubbard was the only one who really ran
4.2, and he didn't have. It's not he ran the ball well and effectively, but the Panthers, and what the Eagles will tell you, and Jonathan Gannon will say, the Panthers were not able to parlay that good running into good, consistent drives in which there were no turnovers or no penalties. They hurt themselves with penalties. And if you look at the drive chart after the first quarter, when they had an 8-yard drive and 8-play drive and a 9-play drive, they only had one drive of their next 4, 8, 11. That next 11 drives, only one of them went more than 6 plays. Okay. Here are their yards per drive: 23, -3, 0, 19, 15, 2, 8, 32, 54, 7, and 25. Punt, field goal, punt, interception, punt, field goal, block, punt, interception. That's exactly what Jonathan Gannon and the Eagles are trying to tell you with their 2 deep coverage. You make most teams have to go down the field deliberately, methodically. They're going to fall over themselves. Now, Kansas City and Dallas, no, because those are really good offenses. Carolina, yes, because they're not very good offensively.
What we should also mention, I'm sure the tape will show it. Slay talked about it, and I could tell. So there was some of it. They were disguising post snap. That like they got back to doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much. It wasn't the last time I can remember them really doing was the Atlanta game where they just made Matt Ryan hauling the ball. It's almost a miracle he didn't turn the ball over in that game. But Sam Darnold, and it's perfect. Sam Darnold does not process well. He's better at it than he used to be, but man, he just struggled mightily processing in this game. And I got to give Gannon credit. We ripped him last week because he deserved it.
Yeah.
It's our job. We compliment when they deserve it. You're not coming here for platitudes. We'll give you what we believe is the truth before we get access to the tape. And that's kind of the way we see it.
All right, I want to make one more point and a couple more before we get out of here. First, I want to tell everybody to check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of Philadelphia sports teams. They are for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. Check them out at phlsportsnation.com and on Twitter at phlsportsnation. We're going to pause real quick for a word from our other great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, if you do go check out our friends at Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. So piggybacking off what we just said about more athletic stuff up front, more post-snap disguise or pre-snap disguise in the back end.
Actually, post-snap, really.
Pre and probably both.
It's mostly post-snap.
Yeah, post-snap, right. Yeah. So am I led to believe that when they're playing an offense that has a bad offensive line and they feel like they're going to get good pressure with the front four, they're going to do that? But when they play a good team like San Francisco, Kansas City, or Dallas, they're just going to be like, I
have no idea.
We're going to go vanilla because we ain't got a shot? Like, what's the deal with that?
Well, here, again, it's like we said 45 minutes ago. Cannot get both coaches, both play callers, the head coach, play caller, and the defense coordinator, they've had their ups and downs of play calling. They're new to this. It's not an excuse. It's just the reality. There are going to be some games where you pull your hair out and you go, what is wrong with this guy? That's just life when you're a first-time play caller. It's nothing. It's when you're new at something, though I'm sure he's had input, Gannon we're talking about, with whether it's Eberflus or maybe Zimmer, whoever he's worked for in his life, whether it's college or pros. But he believes in a certain system. I'm just shocked that he's not aggressive like Zimmer is with the double-A gap. Supposedly Zimmer doesn't do it as much as he used to, but nevertheless, he knows that Zimmer has done it, and he worked for Zimmer. Yeah. We understand the line games. They did it. They finally did it. They did it earlier this season, but they stopped doing it. And they stopped doing the pre-snap disguise for weeks. Now or post-snap disguise for weeks. They're doing it. Okay. But now you got Brady coming. That's going to be I'm just going to be, because we have no idea what they're going to try to do to Brady, because no one he might throw 60 touchdowns this season. It's ridiculous what he's doing right now. I don't know, but I'm going to be interested to see what Gannon does here on Thursday.
Have the Eagles lost 3 games at home and won 2 on the road? Is that what's happened so far? They lost to Kansas City. They lost to San Francisco at home. Who else did they lose to? Dallas. That was in Dallas.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well,
They Right. Their 2 wins were on the road at 2 NFC South teams in Week 1 and Week 5 at Atlanta, at Carolina.
Right.
In both wins, they gave up a total of 24 points. So clearly, it's when their defense dominates, they can win. I mean, that's the, again, we don't even have a book on any of these things. We think we start to get indicators, and then something else happens. So it's like, they're 2-3. I'm sticking with my 7-8 win total before the season. I think that was my win range. Right, they're going to get it. This is a win they probably shouldn't have had, but you know what? Sometimes in professional sports, you win games you should have lost.
Yep.
The special team showed up. The defense showed up, certainly when they need it in the second half, and it's a good thing.
Hey, look, you can make the argument they won the game that they should have lost with Carolina. They lost the game they should have won with San Francisco because, honestly, they lost that game 17-11 San Francisco. They had, 3 touchdowns wiped off the board. They made some critical mistakes that they've been making all year, but it did feel like they were playing with San Francisco there, and then all of a sudden, they just couldn't get out of their own way. Or maybe there'll be a game in the future here. So you got the Bucs up. After that, see, I'm kind of looking forward to, and I'm not trying to throw in the towel, but I'm really looking forward to getting away from this Bucs game and out of this really difficult first 6 games of the schedule that we've talked about since maybe when the schedule came out in April. Because then when you got Raiders, Lions, Chargers, Broncos, Saints there before you get into the new the divisional games. Mm-hmm. That's going to be an interesting, because there's a lot of there's a lot of we should type win those games. Other than the Chargers, who look really tough, The other teams that I mentioned there, Raiders, Lions, Broncos, Saints. I mean, you're going to be able to, I think, make a compelling case for why the Eagles should at least compete and be able to win that.
Honestly, the Chargers defense, which I thought was much better, they were horrendous on Sunday against the Browns. I was shocked by that. They played great against the Raiders on the road. I understand this league is so week to week. I totally get that. Right. But every game, the only game that I struggle with them winning or even have a chance to win would be Tampa Bay. I know the Raiders game. I know a lot of Eagle fans are going to be there. I've heard from some of my friends who are season ticket holders. They're making the trip out there.
Right.
It's a winnable game. The Raiders have lost 2 in a row. They're not looking good. Lions are unbelievably competitive. Found new ways to lose, but they're competitive. We mentioned the Chargers. Broncos are starting to struggle. Saints are Jekyll and Hyde. Giants are all beat up physically. Jets, are competitive, but they're bad. Washington's an absolute disgrace, particularly on defense. In Dallas, they play week 17, so absolutely they're in range to have 7 or 8 wins. And you stole this game. They stole this game. Absolutely stole this game. They had no business winning it. But I give them credit, though. They play hard for Sirianni. I get the venom some people have for him, but the key is they play hard for him. He's trying to figure life out as NFL head coach. Mm-hmm. So did Doug Peterson when they were 7-9 in year 1. Mm-hmm. People thought he was buffoon and all that. And, the press conferences were terrible and all that in 2016. I'm not saying they're going to win. The Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl in 22, but this guy's a passionate coach. He's trying to figure it out. So's a D coordinator. They're going to drive you crazy. Some weeks you're going to, what the hell are they doing? Some weeks you're going to go, wow, they're starting to figure it out. That's just life with first-time play callers and a first-time head coach.
No doubt about it. I am a little more bullish on the Chargers than you, even if their defense stinks.
I love them. I picked them to get the playoffs.
I don't see that as a game that's coin flip for the Eagles. I think that the Chargers are going to be pretty big. I know it's in Philadelphia, but they'll be favored to win that game.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they will. But, again, you've seen them, at least they dominate. Eagles dominated week 1. Yes, they didn't play great offensively. They were bad offensively for the most part in week 5. But the defense showed up. They have, if for some miracle, and it would be like a Festivus miracle, they decided they were going to actually run the ball a little bit to help your quarterback out. Hey, get some semblance of balance. I hate to say it because I want 67, 40, I want, like 65 to 67% pass. But the problem is when you lopside it like that, I'm good with that when the quarterback's playing well. When he's not, I just want to do something to help out the offense. And this head coach seemingly doesn't want to do it. I just don't understand it.
You and me both, and I'm sure millions of other people who root for the Midnight Green. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. We will be back on Wednesday with our tape review podcast. That should be a really interesting one. 6 a.m. is when it drops. Of course, Q&A with Quentin Michael and Jason Avant Thursday, 6 a.m. Big thanks to our producer, Hunter Brody. Check out his work on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads. His Twitter account, @Broads81. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.